Welcome everyone to the Trust the Plan podcast. I'm Nick.
And I'm Jim.
And Jim, this is the Feel Good edition.
It's everybody's favorite.
That's right. Okay, so here at Peak Wealth Management, we believe by providing education and guidance, we can help you make great financial decisions so you can retire with peak confidence. And this episode is going to be a joint combination of the Nick Hopwood personal financial the Hopwood family personal financial plan and the Pilat family personal financial plan. Mm-hmm. It's going to be the most popular episode of the year, I can tell.
It is always a favorite.
It's a good one.
This is the Do We Practice What We Preach episode.
That's right.
Really.
That's right. Because I'm glad you brought that up, because in another lifetime, I witnessed other financial advisors not practicing what they preach. And I thought, hey, in the spirit of full disclosure and transparency, let's lay it all out there. Let's put it on the line. Let's be vulnerable.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I started in this business at an annuity company, and I'd ask some of these guys, "Did you own this annuity or that one?" No, they never own their own annuities. They just, own the brokerage account.
We like home cooking here, right?
Yes, we do.
Yeah. Okay. So first off, here we are. Happy New Year in 2025.
Yeah.
Any big 2025 resolutions or goals that you want to share with your fans?
Oh man, I hadn't put a ton of thought into that because I like resolutions and I like the new year because it's a good time to start something fresh. But you have to commit to it beyond just being, well, it's January, what am I going to do? You know what I mean? So I haven't done that. I guess I would say, health is always a top one. Just now that I'm 50, I got to start taking a little better care of myself, I think.
Big 5-0.
Yeah.
Well, for those of you looking for some assistance, like Jim, for setting goals, check out the blueprinting process at the Peak website. I don't have the URL at the touch of my fingertip here, at the tip of my tongue, but if you just Google it, it'll be there. Peak Wealth Management Blueprinting Process. A nice little workbook that we have. Yeah. Or reach out to us. Email me, nick@peakwm.com. I'll mail you the physical workbook, or you can get that PDF online. It helps you understand, it forces you to think about what's important to you. What are your values? What's your vision of the future? Your personal purpose for being here, and it's great for helping you set goals as well. So that's a great place to start. Ideally, you'd have it in place by January 1, but it's a great place to start right now. It's never too late, we'll say. So, Jim, anything different with your financial plan last year to this year?
I wouldn't say there's anything dramatically different, but I was able to take advantage of some kind of cool opportunities that we started talking to people about. So, still making contributions to Roth, big believer in Roth. So all my 401 is going into Roth 401. Even though I'm 50, some people might say, well, you should have done it when you were younger. And well, yeah, ideally I would have. I still think there's a ton of value for doing Roth now at my age. I mean, the money that I'm saving today at 50, maybe I won't need it till I'm 70 or 80. There's still 20, 30 years of compounding that can happen on that. So that's still been a focus for me. Looking for opportunities to build up a taxable investment account, I would say. Life's expensive with one in college and two others in private school. So, but looking for opportunities to build up that taxable joint investment account.
Well, let's go through each thing one by one.
Okay.
So we'll come back to those different accounts.
All right.
One thing though, in terms of anything different for me, we set up a donor advised fund. So we got it opened up at Schwab. This is something that is a benefit of working with Schwab. At Ameritrade, they didn't have the donor advised fund set up. So now in 24, fully partnering with Schwab, we were able to take advantage. And it's pretty neat because when you put money into the donor advised fund, once the money is actually in the account, when you log into Schwab on schwab.com, you can elect to make a distribution directly from that account. And then you can choose from over 100,000 charities that are populated into the Schwab charitable site. It's really neat. And so you just select how much money you want to send to the charity and which one, and Schwab sends the money out.
Nice.
Yeah.
Cool.
So why would we do a DAF, donor advised fund? Well, it's kind of like your own personal family foundation. So if you have highly appreciated stock, if you sell it, you have to pay capital gains. But if you're charitably inclined anyway, you can just take that stock and donate it to your donor advised fund. You don't have to sell it, so you don't have to pay the capital gain. Then the donor advised fund sells the stock, which is a charity, or it's a tax exempt.
Tax exempt. Yeah.
So it doesn't. The donor advised fund doesn't have to pay the tax, and then you get the full write-off of the full value of the stock that you put in. So that's really neat. So that's one thing that we did different, and it's going to be talked about by us all year or every year going forward because of that example that we gave. But also the standard deduction is so high that a lot of people are not getting the benefit of just writing a check to church or the charity like you would because you're not itemizing. So this is a way to make a larger gift one time, so then it would be enough to allow you to itemize and make it worth your while to take the tax benefit.
Yeah.
Okay. So that's one thing that we're doing different this year. Okay. And I think that it can be a big part of our plan in the future. Okay. How about debt? I know that you don't like debt. So
I
that's
don't
probably
like
not a
debt.
big issue for you.
No, I don't. I don't like that. The mortgage is paid off and has been, and that continues. Obviously, to be a goal. I did end up buying a car this year, and rather than financing it, I did use some home equity line to do that. And part of the reason is, you can do it with any loan obligation, but like it's super easy to pay additional. So my goal is to knock it out quick. So I've been able to make bigger payments towards that than being on a fixed schedule at a bank or something.
Well, good for you to be mortgage free.
Yeah.
Congratulations. Not everyone can have that. Okay.
Yeah, but I will say too, the more you are debt free, the more I feel like you crave that. Putting that car on a home equity line and all of a sudden having a debt payment again was like, oh no, like I got to get rid of it. So I've been like super focused on knocking that out.
Well, we don't have any changes with our debt. We do have a mortgage, but it's set up to be paid off by the time I retire. It's actually got 12 years left. It's a 15-year to our house in Plymouth with 12 years left, and it's like 2.6%.
Yeah.
So I don't feel any need to pay it off early or pay extra because it's such a great loan.
Right.
It's like the greatest loan in the history of the world, probably.
When you can make almost twice that in a money market, that's a pretty good situation.
Yeah. We do have a mortgage on one of our rentals, but again, it's like 3.5%. It's really good. And we have made one extra payment per year on that one. It's not really, it just changes it from like a 30-year to a 23-year.
Yeah.
So 30 years is just too long, bottom line. So I wanted to have a little bit going extra to cut that down a little bit. And then we're doing the big lake project. It's costing a fair amount, but we were able to set money aside over the last 2 years in advance of the project. So there's not going to be any new debt on that, which I'm really happy about.
Yeah, and that's really that's the smart way to plan for an upcoming expense, right? Don't just jump in and take on the debt and pay for it, but to start planning ahead and setting aside money. That's a great idea.
Oh, I did have a car loan. You reminded me. We do have a car loan, and those rates are like 6.5%. So it's not great. It's not great, and these cars are so expensive now. Like the sales tax on a new car is unbelievable.
Yeah.
So we do have that. I'm not happy about it, but I think it's a 5-year. So, it's not terribly long, but long enough. What about college?
For me, college this is an opportunity where I kind of hinted to earlier where I had a chance to do some different things. So, still adding to the 529s, trying to get money in there, especially with some of the new law around unused 529 money being able to go into a Roth IRA for the beneficiary. So that's something I was able to take advantage of right away. I have a freshman who's in college now and got some athletic and some academic money. So college was pretty reasonable. So I looked at that as an opportunity to try this whole new thing out, and was able to transfer 1 year's worth. It's usually 1 year at a time, so up to the limit. So 7,000 was able to go from her 529 into a Roth IRA for her. So I feel really good about, being able to do that and jumpstart that retirement savings, at such a young age for her. That was pretty cool.
So that was a new rule that they allowed, and you took advantage of it, and so it works.
Yep, it does. It worked. It ended up right where I expected it to.
That's
so
fantastic.
So that's kind of become my new goal, is to try to just fund my kids' Roth for as much of that as I can, with their 529 money. I just think that's any way that you can get a head start, and start saving early is just a huge opportunity.
What about the younger kids?
For them, still just looking, adding to the accounts in anticipation, again, because I know it'll either go towards college or I can use it to roll into the Roth.
So you're continuing to add monthly?
Yep.
Okay.
The other thing I think about with the 529 as well is, I've been paying private school tuition for a long time, and something that we talk to a lot of people about with HSAs is save your old receipts, because you can reimburse yourself down the road. Well, that's kind of how I'm looking at 529 a little bit too, where I can reimburse myself from 5th grade expenses and 6th grade expenses and 7th grade expenses, right? So when it comes time to take that money out, if it can't go into the Roth anymore, there's an opportunity to reimburse myself for those prior.
Or you could let it ride to the grandkids.
Or it can become a legacy account. Yep, exactly. So there's a lot more flexibility that with the 529s than there used to be, and that people always kind of associate with.
So on January 1st, I have a reminder set every year to take a look at the college accounts, because you actually cannot do more than 2 transactions per year in terms of trades.
Rebalancing.
Yeah, so it's not even worth really bothering.
Yeah.
But on January 1, I take a look just a couple weeks ago and make sure that I like everything that we're looking at. Mm-hmm. And it dawned on me that my oldest is going to need money this summer, because he's graduating in the spring. So we're going to need that money.
Yeah.
So my oldest has 2 years of Met.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And the traditional investment 529. Mm-hmm. I really am not happy with the way the Met has worked out for my 2 older boys. Okay. So the returns are trash. But it is what it is. So that money is there. And what I was doing on Jan 1 is making sure that they're going to be fully funded, right? Mm-hmm. All 3 kids. And fortunately, because I'm adding $500 a month since birth, they're on track. We have good returns, and they're all on track. Okay, but what I realized for my oldest is that since we're going to need this money this year, I need to put some money into more safe money.
Yep.
Okay, so you're able to do those 2 trades per year. I figured if we use the Met, how much will we need from the 529? Put that amount in the cash. Yep. So it's probably earning 3 or 4% safe money, and it's ready for tuition or for freshman year this year.
Yeah.
And for the other 2, just made sure that we're doing enough. So we are. Mm-hmm. So we always say $500 a month from birth to age 21. But when the calculations were made, 15 years ago, the number was $500 a month. Mm-hmm. So that's what we continue to do, and it's working.
Yeah, good.
Now you mentioned HSA.
Mm-hmm.
So what about that?
Yeah, I'm a big believer in HSA. We talk to people about that a lot. It's great because it's a pre-tax contribution. I already kind of hinted to some of, favoring Roth and the 401. So this is a way to still get a pre-tax, contribution in, which helps today, but then also grows tax-free and withdraws tax-free. So I make that contribution every year. I max that out, and I don't use it. I want it to grow and take advantage of the growth part of that so that it'll be tax-free on the withdrawal as much as I can.
Okay. I do the same, exactly the same. My HSA is getting big.
Yeah.
I mean, it's really...
We've been talking about this for a few years now, and we've had a good market return, and it's fun to see that grow. Yeah,
I've probably been maxing it out for 15 years, but foolishly I was using the money for many of those years. Mm-hmm. But probably for the last 6, 7, 8 years, I've been letting it roll.
Yeah.
So it's getting big. So I'm really happy about that. You mentioned Roth earlier, Roth 401k.
Yep. Yeah, just again, Roth, not getting the tax break today, but just all that growth, tax free forever. And then, we talked about inheritance or, things on 529s. Well, if I'm going to inherit anything, I'd love it to be Roth, right? And that's the same for the kids. So I'm happy to start building up some money there. If there's money left over and they get Roth money, that's going to only be a better advantage for them.
And now for our age 50 people, you can do 31,000 this year. So it's 23,500 if you're a young buck, okay, and 31,000 for the old
timers over here. Yeah,
okay. So yes, so I'm also doing Roth 401k. My wife's doing the same thing, so we're both doing that for 23,500. Got to take advantage of the max plus the match, and then we're also doing the backdoor Roth IRA contributions for $7,000 each, where you put the money into a traditional IRA. You do not take the write-off, and then the next day you convert to Roth.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a lot of money going into Roth every year. I feel really good about that.
Yeah, and like backdoor Roths is something that a lot of people can look at a year in and year out. It's only $7,000, but that's another one where you just keep doing it consistently over time, and you're really getting a lot of money in there.
That's right. One thing that that I'd like to encourage everyone to think about when it comes to their 401k is the after-tax contribution, which the TikTokers call it the mega backdoor Roth. Okay, whatever you call it, I don't care. But if your plan allows for it, you need to do it. Unfortunately, our plan doesn't, but that's maybe something that we can talk about in the future.
Yeah, but yeah, that's definitely something you don't want to overlook. It can really be a big advantage if you're looking for a lot, to put away a lot more money. That can be a great place to do that.
Yeah. Okay, how about real estate?
Real estate for us has been something that's been on our mind for a while. We're in kind of the house I bought like 20 years ago, and we've been looking and considering buying something new and just never really come across the right place. And, inventory was so tight for so many years that it wasn't really attractive to move. So we're kind of back into maybe just being content where we are, having the kids get a little older, and the thought of some of them being out of the house soon makes me not want to jump into something too different.
The house gets bigger when there's less people in the house.
Exactly. So, yeah, so it's probably still on the table. We're always open to, if the right place showed up, we could be convinced to move. But I'm intrigued by, the rental real estate. I know we talk about that a lot, but, that could be something that could be a next step for us, is looking to find a property that can be rented. And
are you thinking like an annual rental or an Airbnb or a commercial property?
Yeah, I guess my first thought goes to annual, like a single family home kind of a thing. It's an intriguing idea. Another client mentioned this at one point, and I always kind of thought it was a cool idea, but he looked at rentals as kind of like buying his kids a future house, because he would buy a nice little starter home, rent it out, and as the kid gets older, eventually they're probably going to need a house. And if you have one, that could be used, for them, or a way, they could buy it from you at a reasonable rate, as opposed to being in a competitive situation or something. That's intriguing. So at this point, like I said, I'm kind of just intrigued by it, but that's why the single family home is kind of an interesting idea.
Okay. Do you think that owning rental real estate is ethical?
Do I think it's ethical? I think it is. I think it depends how you look at it. You can look at something like what some of the big companies are doing and maybe deem that unethical, but I feel like the way I laid it out.
I'm just giving you a hard time.
Yeah.
I believe that it's completely ethical.
Yeah.
Okay.
But the other side of that, right? Like, is like a BlackRock or somebody coming up and buying up entire neighborhoods, and then now housing's unaffordable. Like, that's probably where that's where that question comes from, I would assume, right?
Perhaps. I don't know. I didn't think of the question.
Yeah.
I never would have thought of that. But when we were doing a lecture at the University of Michigan, one of the students asked me that.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And I thought, he straight-faced asked the question, and I thought, oh dear, is this a
trap?
Is this a trap? Is this a joke? Like, I just said yes.
Yeah.
And then he elaborated. I kind of looked at the professor like, is this okay?
Yeah.
Because I don't know. I mean, you read about some of the things that happen on campus now,
Yeah.
and I don't know what you're allowed to say or not.
I
But
mean,
anyway,
for some people, that could be their only way to get into a house, and you just made it easy for them, because you're going to be a good ethical landlord.
so the young man, he said, when I asked him to elaborate, he said something to the effect of, hey, there's a lot of homeless people out there that don't have any place to live, and here you are owning multiple properties. And so that was the angle that he was coming.
Yeah.
But, it's
But if
it's not my responsibility to care for all the homeless people.
But
it
if
just
the person
isn't.
you
I'm sorry.
were renting to wasn't in your place, would they then be homeless?
There you go. All right, so getting off track there. So rental real estate. We have sold a couple over the past few years, but we're going strong with them. But one thing that I do think about in terms of real estate is our office. As the firm continues to grow, we have about 3,000 square feet here in the Peak Global HQ where we're recording. Yeah. There's not a studio as I know how this looks great right on YouTube.
Yeah.
But this is a makeshift studio. I mean, it takes Preston like 5 hours to set up the studio every month when we do this. But we hire more advisors, we hire more staff, we hire people here and there.
Yeah.
Where are they going to be?
Right.
Okay. So I think about commercial property and office space, and just stay tuned there. Maybe that's all I'm going to say.
Yeah.
Nothing
Little tease.
imminent, but we do think about that a lot. You mentioned after-tax investments. What do you mean after-tax investments?
After tax is just non-retirement money. Everybody knows about, I got to put in my 401k or Roth IRAs, and we talk about those things a lot, but I'm really a fan of after tax, just joint brokerage accounts or individual investment accounts, accounts that are totally flexible. Money can come in and out at any time. I used mine. I used mine earlier this year where I had some extra money in the bank, put it in the taxable account, let it grow for a few months, pulled it out to pay for a new roof. I just think it's an account that allows you to be prepared for whatever's coming. So the thought of having a really nice, good cushion in that taxable account is, I think it just gives peace of mind.
For sure. I like to think of it as the way that you diversify your taxes, particularly in retirement. So we want to take advantage of all the government incentives with pre-tax 401ks, Roth 401ks, Roth IRAs, HSAs, and so on. But once you've maxed all those out, then what? Okay, then you turn to your joint brokerage account or your TOD account or your trust account. And this is where you can have the key for early retirement as well. If you want to retire before 59 and a half or before Social Security, it's very difficult if all of your money is tied up in your 401, particularly if it's been pre-tax for all those years. And so this is the way that you can get money out without any red tape. You can manage your taxes. So if you're in retirement and all you have is a pre-tax 401k, then you're going to end up paying a lot more tax in retirement as a result. But if you had a brokerage account, you can manage your taxes. You could even pay low tax by managing capital gains and set up a situation to do Roth conversions or to get Obamacare subsidies for healthcare. So those are not to be ignored. Okay.
Yeah, that's a perfect example.
All right. So I also contribute to our trust account on a monthly basis because I believe so much in that. Jim, how about investment risk? What are you doing? Anything different now? Like, how would you describe your risk tolerance?
Now that I'm 50, right, I have to think about this. No, it always comes back to time horizon, money in IRAs, Roth IRAs, 401s. I know I'm not going to need it for 10 plus years. I know I can't even access it. So I tend to still be pretty aggressive with my investments. I feel like I've seen a lot but even, in my career and as I've grown up, with the tech bubble and 2008 and just seen a lot of bad markets, but always have the confidence that it'll come back. So nobody wants to see their accounts go down, but I truly try to look at those as buying opportunities and trying to put as much in as I can. So I tend to stay pretty aggressive, with the amount of risk that I take.
Okay, very good. So I agree. I've got a long-term time horizon as well. So I like to be aggressive. But if there's money that I need right now, right, we want to be safe with that. And I bring that up because a lot of people, they have money in the bank or money markets or like short-term bonds, stuff like that. And we want to make sure that we have enough money in the bank, right? Because if you walk in the bank, you need to get out cash and you need to have your emergency fund. But I think the money in the bank should only be money that you need right now.
Yeah.
And then the money market should be your emergency fund. And that's money you might need in the next year or two. Okay. But beyond that, I think we should be invested. But I bring it up specifically because we're doing this lake house remodel and that money is needed right now. Hopefully this project will be done by Memorial Day so we can enjoy it this summer. And so all of that money is in the money market, all of it.
Yeah.
Okay. T-bills, money market.
Yep.
Which means that it can't lose. Okay. And so that money is paying 4.25%. And it was 5.25% a year ago, but it's 4.25%. So that's where we're holding our cash. We have money in the bank. All the other cash for emergency fund and everything is in the money market.
Yeah, I like that mindset too. I've had, savings accounts come up all the time. I need a checking and a savings. And I'm like, well, why do we need a savings? Like I use my brokerage account as my emergency fund, my savings, and I just use a money market within there.
Yes.
That's how I.
And you also have the home equity line as a resource if you need cash at the bank.
Yep.
Okay. How about insurance? Anything with insurance?
I'm still carrying life insurance on myself. Have that in place obviously for several more years here until the kids are through college. That's my mindset on that. With the house being paid for, it's not that decreases, in my view, the need for as much insurance. It's more about just making sure that the kids are, through college and that big expense is taken care of, and that my wife would have, money to live on, to replace the years that I would be gone. So, but just term insurance, set to expire in a few years.
I actually had a term policy expire.
Really?
A 20-year term expired.
Nice.
Yeah. It made me sit there and reflect,
Yeah. Something else I did with insurance too, though, was, having now 2 drivers in the house and stuff. I did take an umbrella policy, just to have additional liability coverage. They're out more. They have more people out doing things that the family could potentially be liable for. So I just felt like that was worth doing.
So I have a term policy that expired, but I also have existing term. Okay. I can't remember off the top of my head when those expire, but we would buy a new policy every time we had a baby. And so, there's probably, my second kid is 15. So maybe that one only has 5 years left. But I also have a cash value life insurance policy, which is not for everyone. And I've continued to contribute to that. And it's performing okay, not quite as good as the original illustration, but good enough. Good enough where I'm content to keep the policy going.
Okay.
But I also have a disability policy through like one of these group associations.
Yeah, I do
right?
as well. I didn't mention that yet.
Yes, umbrella. I have umbrella coverage in place. And long-term care is a big one that comes up a lot. So, I've looked at long-term care insurance. And if I were to, I do not have a policy for myself. If I were to buy one, I would kind of combine it with one of these cash value universal policies where it'll pay out if you die and it will pay out if you have a long-term care claim. But my philosophy for myself with long-term care is to be self-insured. So by contributing the max for his and her 401, his and her backdoor, adding every month to the trust account, having the rentals mostly paid off, all that stuff should be enough.
Yeah.
I know it is enough. I know it. So the long-term care, I'm skipping it.
Yeah. It's, it's a hot topic and people always know it's expensive, so they want to cover it, but it's just so expensive to try to provide for it. So I agree with you. If I were to do something, it would be, a life insurance policy that has a long-term care rider or something that it could be used for either one. But
because then at least it's going to pay out for one reason or another, it's going to pay out.
That's why people hate insurance, right? Because I paid all this money and I never used it.
Yeah.
Well, nobody wants to use it or lose it, so it kind of lets you avoid that.
Exactly. Okay, are there any other topics that are on the top of your mind with regard to the financial plan?
The only thing I'm thinking about is, we did some other podcasts in the seminar, even on dinner table, right? Just kids and money. I'm always a big believer in starting early, and we did some things to try to implement the kids learning real world stuff, having expenses and learning how to earn money and make money and create value, and then looking to use that as an opportunity to talk about investing, and let's put this money in your investment account and let's talk about how we should invest it. And, that being a great experience for them. So that's the other thing that we spent some time focusing on this year.
Totally agree with that. And we didn't talk about the kids beyond the 529s, but we're in my house always trying to cultivate the children earning and saving and investing and giving too. And so I think dinner table is a great concept. You can go back and look at the webinar that we did a couple months ago. That's a great place to start. Yeah. Anything else on top of your mind here?
I think that covers it for me. I don't have anything else.
Okay. Well, if you like the way that we think about money, please reach out to us at peakwm.com. You can schedule an appointment online. We'd love to give you a second opinion. And you can drill us, and see if you have any other questions, drill down further into any one of these topics. And once again, we hope you enjoyed the Feel Good edition.